What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Stephan Hogan podcast. Sitting on the other side of the screen is my buddy Cameron Stymeist, who is a prolific songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, instructor, and an overall awesome person who has had many cuts. I remember following your Instagram and seeing a lot of posts that you would do of cuts you were getting, and I was jealous, and it pissed me off a little bit.
Really? Oh no.
I was like, Cameron's killing it.
Oh no.
Why am I not killing it?
Oh, come on, man.
But anyway, man, thank you for being here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, my friend. This is amazing. I just kept feeling a pull because it was, certain opportunities were opening up. I'd win a few competitions here and there. Some of the songs would, get placed in TV and film. People would reach out from LA, and I always had this in the back of my mind that I wanted to be a part of the music industry in a different way, not than just in a small town and beyond a small town mentality. So to me, I just wanted to be able to write. At that point, I wanted to be able to write songs. It would have been bigger than that if I hadn't lost my voice. I'm not sure if you knew about this.
Yeah, I did know.
When my son Hudson was born, he had such a low chance of making it, and he ended up making it. But through that process of stress and everything that we went through afterwards, I just couldn't sing. It was like years and years and years before I could even do that in a way that was somewhat palatable. So at that point, I knew that I couldn't perform, couldn't sing, but I knew I could write. So when I was going to LA, I was like, okay, I can write songs, I can help artists, just like we would get together and I would try to help bring out a song. Mm-hmm. You would make that so easy. And I love that process. So that was part of the dream, is just to be able to make music for a living, really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it kind of transformed when you did lose your voice into like, well, I need to pivot. What can I do still? Right?
Yeah.
Because you were already writing.
I was writing for other artists. I was performing with my band. We were touring. We were helping out another organization called Courage Worldwide. And then once that happened, everything changed. So I couldn't say yes to shows. I couldn't record that next song. But I could help an artist find their voice through a song, or express themselves through a song. I could record an artist and help them find a way to record it in a way that was inspiring. So that's, and then and then it would get to the point where I would record guitar tracks for like a sound pack. I did those kind of things. I would kind of be an MD for an artist for like a local show, like broke more like acoustic, maybe a few instruments here and there, just helping them translate their music to a live stage. That would, and then also just writing for TV and film, writing for briefs, saying, hey, we want a song that sounds like this, and writing, producing that with friends. So that's kind of what the lifestyle looked like. There's a lot of pivoting that is required, I think.
And is the pivoting fueled by revenue?
That's a good question. It probably it is, because you can't, like, man. The songs are kind of like investments. Sometimes you could write a song and it can take years before it does anything. If you're producing a song, you could at least get paid for, maybe half up front and half when it's finished or whatever, And, if you're doing lessons, then you at least get paid for the time you have that hour or whatever it is. Here's this much money that you get for that hour. You don't have to wait years for it. the same thing for, doing live stuff. So yeah, but luckily I would still love those things, so it wasn't like, I have to do this, I have to do that. That's probably one of the worst places you could be in music, a passion-driven, place where you're having to just do something because that you hate in that area to make some money. And that's, man, I don't wish that on anybody, that part.
Yeah, I see a lot of that in town on Broadway.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, musicians that they're trying to get a gig, so they're playing on Broadway at 11 in the morning, or
right,
and they're playing 3-4 hour sets of cover songs for drunk tourists. Like that's kind of a gnarly. I mean, if you just love to play for playing's sake, that's fine.
Right.
But playing for tips for 4 hours for a bunch of tourists is a little bit of a tug on the joy or the dream.
Right.
I think for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I guess defining if it's worth it, it could be important, because if, like, what's the end goal? What do you want to end up doing? And if that's on the way there, then it feels like, okay, yeah, I could do this for a few drunk tourists that don't really care about me or my music to make that money, so I can do these other things. At least I'm playing music compared to the other thing you don't want to do, right?
Totally.
So I guess I backtrack a little bit on it. Yeah.
I would do it just to stay sharp for my chops.
Right.
Because I think it would be fun, actually, but not because of the money part as much. But I'm just not playing right now, and so
Can I ask you why?
I'm just focused on this podcast, growing it, and then the business that Haley and I own. Yeah. And so it's a little bit more of like, what's going to pay the bills, kind of a thing, Yeah. And then I don't know about you, but for us, and I talked about this with Leanne, but moving here, obviously at a weird time, which in the COVID times, and I think that's kind of what helped move you to Utah, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So I was never really able, just due to life circumstances, to put the amount of time and effort into music stuff since we've been in Nashville. And then with my mom passing and having a baby and all that, it's like, all right, what's going to keep the ship afloat, And so right now I have to do what's going to pay the bills, right?
That makes sense,
so,
100%.
So it's an interesting thing when you're my age versus graduating high school.
Right.
Sometimes I think, I wish I had come to Nashville when I was younger and a little less encumbered.
Right.
And I think that would almost be my advice too, because I think and I'd like your perspective, but I think leaving that hometown like you did, like I did, you moved to LA. How old are you at that point?
Oh my gosh. Early 30s.
Early 30s with kids and a wife. Moved to LA to pursue the thing. Now in that time there, did you ever think, I wish I had come here earlier, sooner?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I don't know, I guess it's hard to look back and think of how it should have been, right?
Hindsight's 20/20, man.
But I think I would have jumped into it a lot earlier. But I did love what I was doing. I did love the community. There was some pretty awesome things going on there, and I don't think I wanted to leave that in order to chase something that was still in the back of my mind for so long that was calling out to me. But looking back, I would say if you really want to make it, I think you do need to go. Generally, you need to go to a place where the music's happening. So Nashville, LA. I'm not sure how New York is doing right now. maybe London. There's some other places there.
Yeah. I don't know about Austin.
Yeah,
either.
I was wondering. Austin was in my mind too. Just I'm curious about it. I don't know enough, but I know some people are. There's a little bit of a scene there in another spot.
Yeah,
Atlanta,
a lot of them
for hip hop.
Yeah, Atlanta's huge. A lot of country artists are going overseas to Europe and having great success.
Wow.
In the
Are they
European
already
market.
Established before
Not
they
really.
move?
Not really, man.
So there's a
But
community. There's a European.
It's almost like they love the singer-songwriter acoustic guitar thing.
Wow.
It's like the equivalent of an Australian coming to town and singing with their accent and mesmerizing you with their great songs.
Gets me every time.
You know what I'm saying? It's like that accent does something. So the American accent, you know, is the kind of, I think, the special sauce, if you will.
Do you think... I have never really thought of the American accent being as appealing as some other European accent or Australian accent, because you know, I've never asked that question. I'm actually really curious. Like, does it have a similar effect?
That's a good question.
Because like I feel like whenever I talk to someone from Australia, they would just say something. I'm like, yeah, just keep talking. Just tell me more. I don't care what it is. Just tell me something. You know, and especially if you're like you're a doctor or something or a neuroscientist, it's even better. You know, it's like, yep, okay, it must be true because of the accents there.
Oh, 100%, man. I think that another spot is Thailand for an American musician.
Really?
I heard that Thailand, and the
I've never heard
Philippines. And they're kind of enamored by, you know, like if you're a handsome American man, you can do very good in those markets. And it's interesting because they'll sing. I mean, the West is what inspires the world musically, hands down. And I see these tours of big bands like Coldplay, and they'll go playing like Japan or something, and everybody's singing every lyric, but they speak Japanese. But they know the lyrics. It's interesting. Right.
That's so interesting.
But all that to say, back to you in LA, I don't want to get on a tangent. But
sorry about that. If I go on some tangents, I have my ADHD to think for
No, it's fine, bro. We're just having a conversation. But I think that we both feel that sentiment of, man, wish I had jumped in earlier.
Yes.
Which is that hindsight thing. And as I think about it, I think about what I would tell the younger me, and it's like, well, bro, you know, it's really hard right now to make money. Even if you had a publishing deal, even if you had a record deal, you wouldn't really be guaranteed anything, because the deal wouldn't be great unless you had a lot of clout going in because you had a huge following online. So I would probably say get to the city faster, build your career, get mentored. Mentorship to me is one of the most important things in the world.
Yeah. Did you ever find that for yourself?
Yeah, but later in life, since we moved here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like 30s and up, you know? And it's not like... it's not one of those things where I'm trying to brag, but I feel like one of my mentors, sometimes we have mentors we've never met. We listen to them. We read their books.
Exactly.
Sometimes we have mentors that we get to meet and sit down with and have breakfast with occasionally, and get to ask them anything we want. And when you have that and you have the ability to ask someone, like a Vince Gill for me, who's someone I consider a mentor, and you can just like pick their brain and learn the stories about them. He was the first interview on this podcast, and because we had breakfast and a good amount of times, I was able to ask him questions about things that, you know, most people probably wouldn't have known to ask in an interview. But it was things like character, like turning down the biggest ad sell in history because he said he'd go do some gospel stuff for no money with Emmylou Harris before she was anybody. Wow. and it was 40 years of a management deal on a handshake. No paperwork. It was being a man of your word. It's like these character things that we need to be learning that aren't really taught. And it was more about that than music. It's more about the relationship than the music.
I love that.
And even Leanne, that you connected me with in the last interview, she said the relationship comes first, when she like kind of went down a list of 4 things.
Yeah.
And the music came second for her. And I thought that was really interesting.
I like that, yeah. I worry that's not the case for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's not.
It's more about, can you make me money? That's what
I
think.
Can you make me money, and what can I get out of you? Which I think you could talk into as someone that is a bit of a veteran now in the business.
Man, I don't know. That energy sucks. When you feel like you're being used in some way for someone else's benefit, it doesn't feel good. Man, I don't know. First thing is, I love helping people. I love it. So I'd have friends who would call, be like, "Hey, Cam, what do you think about this song? Like, what do you think I should do? Hey, do you have any connections for this?" And generally, I love sending a song, forwarding a song. I love connecting people. That's cool. But when it gets to the point of you're just at someone else's expense for their benefit, it just doesn't feel good. So, and then when that happens over and over again, then you go, man, I don't know. This is like, it's exhausting, but then I don't know. I try not to stay in that headspace too long, because that's just that's not the kind of place I want to play in. I mean, it's different if you're getting paid for your services too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if someone's paying you to be their producer or a co-writer or whatever, maybe it's a different or mentorship, then that's different.
Yeah, if they're hiring you for a coaching call or whatever, that's one thing versus. Yeah, I hear that, man. What do you feel like as a? Because I like that you're an instructor, obviously, and I want to talk a little bit more about.
That wasn't part of the plan, by the way. I did not come here to be an instructor at all. We just moved because of the pandemic. It was better for our kids, and I'll just to let you know, but there was one point I was just doing remote work, and some artists would come and hang out, and we would work here on some of their songs, and then I was like, maybe I'll help out some people locally. Maybe I'll so I just put a little poster together. I posted online, and then the guitar teacher's wife saw it at Utah Arts Academy. So that's the school that I teach at, and so she said, "Hey, is it cool if I can?" She basically connected me with him, and then his name's Dave. He's an awesome guy and great instructor, guitar teacher, and he's like, "Is it cool if I give the principal your phone number?" They were looking for somebody at that point, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's go." Because I had no idea that kind of school even existed in a place like this. So then that connection happened, and I went and saw this awesome school that looked like it belonged in a music city, and I was like, let's go, let's help some kids,
Yeah, that's why I keep coming back to it, because I feel like there's a vein between you and I to and you didn't, because you're still. Like, your songs are on Love Is Blind and you're writing, but then you're also fostering the next generation. And I think that's something that I'm passionate about. I've always had a passion to help, I think that's why I started this podcast at the end of the day, is to answer the questions that I was getting in DMs. And you get to a point where you're like, I don't know if I want to just like, this is getting overwhelming. Maybe I can just start something where people can get fed information. Yeah. And I've had cool guests on. But the thing I like that is I feel like both have that desire to invest in the next generation.
Yes,
and
100%.
And so Cameron, what does that look like for you? And what are those pieces of advice that you would have given your younger self?
Oh gosh, goodness. I'm writing this down.
And then, do you give that advice to your students? Is what I'm curious about.
Yes. So you were saying, what does it look like to help the next generation? Well, hopefully they want to learn something, right? So with people that want to learn, hopefully you can inspire them to want to learn, to want to create, and in a way that is not like this from a place of like powerful authority or whatever, but just like walking alongside people and seeing them as a human being that has value, and helping them make something out of their thoughts and feelings, out of the things they're wrestling with, and putting that to a rhythm, putting it to a melody, making that in a way that is like in a form of a song, you know, like with chords that have this awesome feeling to it, and saying something you want to say in a way that's like that the world can hold, in a way, you know, that can understand, they could feel it with you, that you can in a way be seen and heard, that in a way that maybe you haven't been able to before. So I think that's part of it. And then just constantly encouraging people, because most people don't believe they can. First off, they don't believe they can. So affirming what's good. I didn't realize I was good at certain things until someone told me I was. So once someone said, hey, you're really good at this, did you recognize this? You're really good at this. Most often I was like, really? Are you sure? I still get like that sometimes. But like, oh, I am good at that? So once we know, then we can lean in to that thing. Instead of, and there were times where I would apologize for things I would do, but then people would start affirming, like, dude, you're really good at this. And I'm like, okay, cool. So affirming what's good in these students, like they can't even see a lot of it. So when they can see it, then they can start to believe it and exercise it in a way that's effective. Like in music, you could be really great at writing a melody, or great at lyrics, or great at playing chords, or finding chords to that melody, or just being a great co-writer. Someone that asks the right questions. Someone that is a good listener. Someone that is a good hang. That respects people and makes them feel comfortable to want to share. You know? All of that serves a purpose in music. Being a good human, right? Like just being a kind human being. To me, that's where the value is. And just like you said, those are the kind of things that need to be instilled in the next generation. Not just using people for your benefit. It's like, how do we help each other? How do I help you? How do I give you help you see your own value, so then you can give value to others. And then it's just like this synergy and this connection, and it's powerful. So I hope that some of that can answer some of the question of what it looks like. It's constant encouragement, and helping people believe in themselves.
Do you find that musicians and songwriters, singers, artists in general are insecure?
Yes.
Would you say more so than someone that is not in the art world?
I don't know. I think when it comes to art, it's a very, vulnerable medium, right? Like it's in writing songs, it's a very vulnerable act to say something you're thinking, and then put your voice, to sing something out loud. Like that's scary, right? Like, so what was the question again? Because like, I'm more insecure. So I think it's scary. I think it's a scary thing to do, especially when you're first doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Do you find in those students? Because I feel like I've done a lot of stuff for older folks, but not a lot of stuff for the like upcoming generation on some of these podcasts. Yeah. And I would love to be able to have little snippets that are like some encouragement for younger people. One of the things that I always had a hard time with when I was younger was I had a hard time coming up with lyrics because I felt like I didn't have enough life experience. Have you run into that with any of your students?
Oh, for sure. But, even at that age, you could probably have a conversation about something you're going through, right? Mm-hmm. And how often in a songwriting session do the lyrics come directly from you expressing yourself?
For me, all the time.
So if we can help our younger generation understand that if you want, sometimes you just have to say it. You just have to say it. And if it maybe doesn't seem super poetic at first, but you can find a better way to say it later. You can find a better way to rewrite that line or add some simile or metaphor or some creative way to say that same thing later, right? But to get started, say you feel alone. Say you feel lonely. Say you feel excited. Whatever. Catch some of those emotions that you would just say to a friend. Right?
Yeah. What do you find are some of the things that your students are struggling with the most? That you kind of see as a maybe a pattern? I don't know if there is an answer. I'm just curious.
No. There's probably a lot. I said, just think about it. I think
because I've been out of the game for a minute on working with like high schoolers and junior hires.
Yeah. It's different. It's interesting in a classroom setting, right? Because some kids are just like, I'm gonna just try this out. Like it's just another elective. And some kids come in there like, I want to go. I want to make it happen, which is probably more in the only a few % that want to take it to the next level. So, but they still want to learn. You want to test out the waters. You want to try all the different things and see what you align with. But I'd say the first word that comes to my mind is fear. Just being afraid to try. So if I could give them all, well, I'm not sure if this would help as much, but if I could just give them this confidence at the beginning, to go, boom, let's go. Let's just do it. Let's do the art. Let's be bold. Let's try and write some lyrics. Let's make a horrible song. Let's just do it. Let's put a few lines together. Let's sing some random notes. See if we can string together something that works, and because it's almost like there's this perfectionist mentality that and I've dealt with that kind of idea as well, like perfectionism in music, that stops us from even doing the first part that leads to the end result. So I find that if you're just bold enough to just go. Just to do it, you're gonna find yourself way further along the path than other people.
Yeah,
100%. And then you know what? Whenever you write songs, do you ever go and just sing gibberish?
I know you did a lot when we were writing.
Yeah. Which is probably weird. Probably weird if you're not used to that. You're like, what the heck are you saying, man? But that's
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I heard John Mayer say that same thing. He's like, anytime I'm trying to write and I have chords or whatever, I'm just singing gibberish. But he's very adamant that it's important to do that.
Yeah. Because sometimes you don't even know what you're feeling, and hopefully people have hopefully we can develop this self-awareness to know what we're actually thinking and feeling and going through. But being in a place where you can just sing, and you feel comfortable enough and bold enough just to express, sometimes you don't know what's going to come out. You might be like, oh my gosh, like subconsciously, this is what's going on in my brain. I think that is one way to access your subconscious mind, is through just expressing.
Yeah.
And you might be like, oh, I just said that and that. Am I feeling that right now? Am I wrestling with this thing, whatever, you know? Same thing can work with journaling, just free writing. We try to do that too, just free write, so that you can get the emotions out. Just get some stuff out. And then, have you ever done that where you just do like a free write for a certain amount of minutes, nonstop? You just don't stop.
I call it a brain dump.
Yeah, they say it's best to do that earlier in the day, so
I did it this morning.
It frees you up. You know, I actually had an intention to do that this morning. I had an intention. I failed, but
it's okay.
I love. I feel a lot better when I express that and I get it out on paper.
One of the smartest dudes I've ever talked to is named Brian Koppelman, and he wrote Ocean's 13. Wow. He wrote the show Billions on Showtime, which is, I think they're on their last season.
It's awesome.
A bunch of big stuff. But he talked about morning pages, is what he calls it. And every day, like, morning pages is his thing. The Artist's Way. Yeah. He references that book in the podcast.
Yeah.
Have you read that book all the way through? Because I haven't.
I haven't read it all the way through. I need to jump back on this, so maybe this conversation will help me with that. I need to make a commitment just to do it. But yeah, it's helpful, but I have to be disciplined in that.
Yeah.
Make the time. You know, get outside first thing in the morning, get that sunlight in your eyes. Andrew Huberman.
Let's go down that route. Wellness.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's another thing that I was recognizing when I first started teaching, is I feel like we need to take care of our health, our mental health. Just like, and that goes for everybody, you know. Luckily, we're in a place where people are openly talking about it. But I don't know, man. Like, you know, are you actually drinking water? You know what I'm saying? Are you actually getting sleep? Are you getting away from your phone long enough? Even before bedtime, right? That hour before, so the blue light doesn't keep you awake, doesn't suppress the release of that melatonin, you know, in our brain. So, like, are we exercising? Are we actually moving our bodies? So that's part of the first year. I ended up doing a little session, or assignments on that for the songwriting class. It wasn't like as loved by people who just want to learn how to write songs, but I felt like it was necessary. But I probably won't do it again. I'll just might give little nuggets here and there.
Dude, what a badass way to start a class, like, dude, syllabus. Like, first thing, your homework is to go run.
I know.
Or, like, do some form of exercise.
Well, I started doing that. I started doing that the next year, but we actually would have a question of the day, and we'd talk about something that would hopefully stimulate our minds and make us think to the next level, to get it open to expressing in some way. And so what I started doing the next year is we would do a walk like a walk and talk, just kind of like a Steve Jobs would do with his company, you know. So we'd get out and we'd walk, and I'd ask them these questions, and they would all have to think about an answer. And just getting the heart rate up and the blood flowing, it changes how people express. Do you ever feel like if you ever go on a walk with somebody, then all of a sudden your conversation's just flowing? Yeah,
it changes the channel in your brain, or the frequency or whatever vibration you're on. I feel like for me, exercise, if I go like lift weights and sweat and then lay down and stretch after, I find that in that stretching time, like I start to get all these creative thoughts.
Wow.
And I'm not doing anything. I find that actually, and this is something that I would suggest for everybody to do, which is very hard, but is to have time to do nothing. And I find that if you can sit and you can quiet your brain, I've been doing this with my son while I put him to sleep. I'll rock him to sleep. And if you let your mind just wander, it almost starts to like, it's like a computer doing the old school like defragmenting of the hard drive, you know?
Yeah.
It's like this filtration system your brain starts to do that we never really get the opportunity to do because we're always stimulated by something.
Right.
And we're all freaking addicted to our phones and the dopamine hit we get. You know? Like, how many 100%. Likes did I get? Did I get views? Did people approve of me? Am I getting validation from strangers?
Right.
And all that. And I mean, it's such a weird time. And I think that wellness is so critical. So let's talk about Andrew Huberman. Tell everybody who he is, if they don't know.
Andrew Huberman is a neuroscientist and ophthalmologist, I believe. He's like the head chair at Stanford University. And ever since the pandemic, I think it was right after the pandemic, I'm not sure if he talked about this openly, but it felt like he saw the need for giving out really quality information to help people in every way. So it's like you get college level information on YouTube for free, basically.
Yeah, and from one of the best scientists in the world, arguably.
Yeah.
Who studies mental health.
He studies like everything.
Peak performance, mental health.
Mental health, how to deal with loss. Like, have you checked out that episode?
I've watched a lot of episodes.
Yeah. So like, there's so many, man. And I think, so I tried to, I think people probably I'm trying to learn the balance of these things because some people don't want to hear about it, you know?
I think we need to have the discussion though.
Yeah. But man, I would try to get everyone to watch Andrew Huberman.
Yeah.
I try to get everyone but they have to be curious enough to want that information. They have to be curious enough to want to know what's really going to help their mental health, physical, whatever it is, you know. But dude, he's legit. I feel like we needed a credible resource around that time, and he stepped up and he made it happen. And now he's probably the leading guy in that area.
Yeah, and he's on a lot of other people's podcasts also.
Yes.
Like I'm sure you like the one he did with Rick Rubin.
Yeah. I got the
artist or his book.
Yeah, got his book.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I haven't read. I got the audiobook.
That's what I got. And he reads it.
Yeah.
Rick, but it's a little boring for me.
It's like you need to take it in pieces.
Yeah.
That's what I find, you know. It's like there's so much to digest in everything he's saying and find ways to apply it. But I feel like if you listen to the whole thing at one point, it might be like, oh man, where do I start with all this?
Yeah.
Just apply one idea, and then move from there. But
yeah. I want to give you time to talk about some of your accomplishments.
Oh, I don't. That's a hard.
Some of the stuff that you're proud of. In a non-braggadocious way.
That's a really hard thing.
I've been lucky to be able to have some songs.
Is that how we should probably learn how to do that in a way. I've never been good about talking about what I've done. I mean, I guess I've won. That's
not a bad character trait by any means.
Yeah, and also part of it is probably my own issue with sometimes I'm not that proud. I should be probably more proud of certain things. When I go back and revisit some things, I'm like, oh, that was cool that I was able to do that. I did win 2 international songwriting competitions at a point, and there was a point where my band was selected by Ryan Tedder, Pete Wentz, and Matt Pinfield to win a Skype competition, which was kind of fun. We ended up winning a few local awards. We were in Sacramento was the closest city, the main city to us, but some Sacramento Sammy Awards, pop rock area, and then just I don't know, man. Like there's a few other awards here and there, and TV and film placements, songs with artists that ended up like on X-Men. I guess there's something that I was on an album that charted #2 in Germany, and the probably one of the funniest ones is a #1 song in Malta because it's such a small place.
That's awesome. That should be your Instagram.
I know
bio.
that's one I'm like, I don't know if I should even it's just funny.
Well, everybody puts like. I don't know. Everyone wants to brag in their Instagram bios. I feel like a lot of times it's just an insecurity thing. But it would be sick if you put #1 song in Malta.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Population 30,000.
Yeah, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Population 3 people. No, I was kidding. I'm sure Malta's beautiful and amazing.
Did you get an amazing payout royalty wise?
So. Man, I don't know if I've ever felt that it's been anything in the music industry has been an amazing payout. Like there's some TV film placements or some I've even had a song that was bought out before, which I normally wouldn't do, but everyone else wanted to do it. So you get a few $1,000s here and there, a few $1,000s here, but I think amazing would be. Here's 60,000 or here's 100 and something, $200,000. Then I'd be like, that's pretty amazing.
That's pay off your house money, man.
Yeah. I mean, well, not so much anymore, right? But
it's interesting that you say that. One of my guests was John Deloney, and he said these homes in Brentwood here in Nashville were built with songwriter money. And
that's cool, man.
And then he says, but a songwriter could never buy him now. And there's a level of grief associated with that. And we suck at grieving as a culture. But like you kind of got to realize where we're at in the music business right now because it's not what it was. Songwriting in the 90s in Nashville was the heyday, for getting cuts. Artists were out touring. They needed songs. And record sales. I mean, how much was a record in the 90s versus what it would cost now? They're probably the same or close to, I would imagine.
How much is what? Say that again.
Like if you went and bought a vinyl, let's say like a new press.
Yeah.
In the 90s, or you went to a record store and you bought one now, you're looking at like $19.99 in the 90s.
Oh,
for a record, for an LP.
Yeah.
Like they weren't cheap.
Right.
And the margins were crazy. I mean, then we went into CDs, which the margins were even crazier on, and they're still selling those for $15. I remember buying the Titanic soundtrack on tape at Rite Aid for $15.99.
Wow. That's actually a lot back then.
Yeah, that was like all my birthday money from my grandma.
Make me think. I think that's one of the first songs I learned on piano was that song.
The Celine Dion one?
Yeah. Just like by ear, trying to listen and figure it out.
Pick out the pieces.
Yeah. But no, I know the value.
It's interesting that you say that on a royalty level because, sync sync and all that. Those are the harsh realities that I keep finding myself coming up against in conversations with music business people.
Yeah.
And that's where I find the clash in my head of what do I tell the 15-year-old or the 18-year-old? Like, yeah, come here, get a bunch of student loan debt, and then go play guitar for someone that might only be hot for a year, you know? Like, that's a hard thing.
It is hard. But hopefully they can use that experience for something else, right? The one door that opened, that can lead to another door opening. Yeah. And that's one thing I did find with the power of a song. Like, one song can open a door. And not like 100 mediocre songs. Yeah, writing 100 mediocre songs can make you much better at writing that one song. But if you have one great song, that can make people start to pay attention and listen. And then that leads you to that other opportunity, which leads you to that other opportunity. And hopefully that experience of playing with that band or whatever, you know, you get to hang out with these other instrumentalists and other players, and then hopefully you did a good job there, and they open the door for you to walk, you know, for a new experience.
How many songs do you think you've written?
Man, I don't. I'm really bad with numbers, with those kind of things. But I don't know. Probably. But okay, so probably the problem is finished songs is very different than ideas, because I'm in a place right in this moment where I'm doing a lot more ideas than finished songs, and that's not the right thing.
It's not bad. It's not bad for co-writes.
No, exactly. So I have a lot. I'll tell you that I have thousands and thousands and thousands of voice memos on my phone right now that are mostly ideas. So
how many finished songs do you think?
Man, I don't know. Probably 100, a few hundred. I don't know, a few hundreds.
Yeah.
You know, I would. My tendency was to try to write a great song. I don't think that's always the way to go. Is to just like make sure this thing's great.
It's not a bad way to go. I think
right, but like it's the hard balance of like the numbers, right? So if you get you get all the bad stuff out, right? Like then the water starts flowing. It's a little more clear. Like the mud's kind of getting out of your system.
That's the Ed Sheeran. Have you heard his quote?
Yeah. I feel like I've heard that so many different times. And you know, I forget the study. You probably, or like the class. Like, have you heard this one where half the class they're doing pottery, and half the class had to make as many pieces as possible, right? And then the other half they had to make one. So obviously the ones who made more, they ended up making better quality. And there's probably a lot of things to be said about that.
Yeah,
made the best.
It's reps. It's
reps, and then just creative flow, and like not getting so hung up on those, like the tension of creating something so good, like, and then just being afraid of not being good, instead of just like just that free creation kind of vibe, you know?
Yeah. Would you rather have money and hang it up right now, musically, songwriting wise, and have money, financial freedom, to where you never had to work another day in your life doing something you didn't want to do for work? Would you rather have the money or the music?
That's hard. I mean, so wait, if I didn't have the music, what does that mean? Does that mean I can't play anymore? I can't sing? I can't write?
Yeah, you're not songwriting anymore.
Oh, man.
You're just hanging it up.
I feel like that would crush my soul. Because have you ever heard that is it Ethan Hawke quote about it's more than just art, it's like a sustenance, it's like a need, like we have to have this expression to thrive in life. And that's what I believe. I believe it's beyond just music, you know. It's makes me feel alive. So I think I would feel pretty dead with all that money.
Yeah.
But it's hard also now with a family, right? Because now that's the priority, is them being taken care of. So that's where the tension in my mind would be, like more freedom. But then if I couldn't create that, would mess up the process. I think for me to feel like to thrive in a way that gives energy and gives life instead of being in a state of depression. You know what I mean? I can imagine that.
You should start your own publishing company.
Really?
Yeah.
What should I call it? I have my publishing is 7 billion productions.
The name doesn't matter. All right. I'm with it. Yeah. But get some venture capital money.
Yeah.
Start a publishing company. Sign people you believe in.
Okay, but so what's the benefit of them signing to me? What do I bring them?
You're gonna sign people that wouldn't get signed.
That I believe in.
Yeah. And what bums me out?
What would I give to them though of value? That would be the biggest question, right? How could I help them achieve?
Well, you'd help develop them.
Yeah.
You'd set them up on co-writes. You give them feedback. You'd help them record and produce their music.
Yeah. Right.
And then
so more of artist development.
Well, that's what publishing companies do now, at least here in Nashville. They're the minor leagues for the majors, for labels. That's where labels look to the publishing companies now.
Yeah.
And the publishing companies primarily, now they're just signing artists and they're finding them on TikTok.
Right.
Like 21-year-old Joe Blow had a song hit up or that blew up on TikTok. Yes. And they sign him to a deal. And they say, you're going to be the next great thing. I won't say names, but I was at a place where one of those artists was. He was tracking a vocal, and he couldn't match pitch for a line. They kept trying to get him to sing one thing. Couldn't match pitch.
A TikTok artist? That started in TikTok?
With a publishing deal. At a very big publishing house. And I was just like...
What?
This is unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting how it's not the best musician, the best writer, you know, all of the criteria that we would like to use as a metric for what success is going to be is not the metric that is used. It's more like to me McDonald's, where they're not trying to make the best cheeseburger in the world. It's about volume. It's about volume
and about money.
That's why it's called the music business.
I know, that's exactly what was going through my mind when you were saying that. I was like, the music business.
Yeah, dude, and sitting front and center to it all the time out here and talking to people is just so deflating.
Yeah.
Even Vince Gill, when I interviewed him, I said, what's your advice for the next generation? He says, I have none because my way is no more. The first question that labels ask is, how many people do you have following you on your socials?
Yeah.
And then he says, what about the music? What about the songs?
Right.
That's the world we live in. I know. That's why I trip out about the next generation. When we have a business that's fueled by not compassion, not caring, not artist development for these people, not their best interest, but how can I squeeze as much out of you as possible and make as much money as possible off of you. Right. And then if you do good, great. And if you don't, our other artists that have 360 deals or our big artists are going to cover the losses we had on you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's kind of a sad little structure there, you know?
It is, man. Have you wanted a publishing deal, like a traditional like pub deal where you're writing for other artists?
Part of me at one point would like one, but I'm not sure. I'm unsure. I think I would really enjoy, you know, and I've had it before where managers would set up sessions for me. You know, but I've never really had I've never said yes to a manager deal. But I like that part. I like having someone look out for me and help me in those areas, like, and set up certain sessions. But from what I know right now, and some of my friends who've had publishing deals, it's just you have a name next to a credible name, and so you end up having to set up a lot of your own stuff anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm with this, publishing, whatever, and now I can say I'm with them, and so then someone will say yes to a songwriting session.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I find that
like
a lot of friends,
it's a blue check mark almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now you can buy. Yeah, I know. I wish they. I don't know about that whole thing. It's so weird.
Yeah, I think I'm paying for mine now. Before it was free.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
And I think they're charging me now for it.
Yeah.
I thought you got grandfathered in if you had one.
I feel like you should have.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't care about it. When they went up for sale, I didn't want one anymore. I was like anti the machine.
Yeah, that's how I would feel a little bit too. I was like, well, this is, if I have earned this thing, and now everyone could just pay $15 a month to have it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the worth of that check mark? But I asked myself that question, but I also realized that. I think there's a psychological thing that happens when you see that, even with the payment. I think people see it and they think that person's more credible because of that blue check mark next to their name.
Yeah, it's true. And I'll tell you this, in my feed, a lot of the people that I've had on the podcast that are bigger artists or whatever they are, it's because they liked one of my posts, and because they have the blue check mark, it shows up at the top on who liked my thing.
Oh, okay.
So you get priority in terms of being seen when you like someone's post.
Yeah.
So like Ronnie Dunn from Brooks and Dunn liked some of my stuff, and so I hit him up. Or Joe Bonamassa, I don't know if you know who he is, the blues guitar player. Okay. He liked some of my stuff. I'm a huge fan of his.
Cool.
And he's sold out Royal Albert Hall many times. You should look him up.
Yeah.
So he's going to be on the podcast. It was all a DM.
That's what's up, man.
Lee Greenwood tomorrow liked my posts. I DM him, and he's going to be on the podcast.
So this is another piece of advice I would give, is exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, you have to take chances.
Oh, dude. How many times have I not been written back, though?
Oh, for sure. 100, yeah.
But you have to take chances, and you have to get comfortable with rejection.
Yeah. And
being know that you're going to be told no.
Yeah.
Speak into that.
That's most of the industry, right? Like, that's for everybody who's in the industry. They know that for the yes you get, you're going to get about 100 no's, really. But
at least
I would not lean into the no's at all and take them personally.
I would use them as fuel.
Yeah.
I would say the more no's I get, the closer I am to a yes.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Because you're going to keep getting better at what you do anyway. And sometimes that no from that other person on that song is actually a yes from someone else. So they can't see the value in it, or they don't know your name yet to then believe that you're someone who could write good songs,
Yeah. And the most important thing to remember is that an opinion's an opinion. Just the Rick Rubin quote, Just because someone thinks it's good doesn't mean that it is or isn't.
Right.
It's just an opinion. So I would say that you have plenty of songs in your catalog that would be hit songs in the right hands.
Maybe,
and hits to me are $1 million. They're not a song. They're a song, yes, but they're really $1 million. And I'm saying, like, songs that we hear, that we know, that we like, that we didn't like at first. Well, the repetition of the tune made us like it, because that's psychology.
And the sound of the artist, that melody. Yeah.
Yep. And then we see him everywhere. That's the psychology of it. Our friends like him. Oh, that's the psychology. And before you know it, you're bought in.
Yeah.
And I feel like most of the industry's bought. But I still believe in the blind optimism that you talked about. And I feel like the fact that you're still going after chasing, you're not chasing anything. You're doing what you love because it's your passion.
Yeah.
I think is really admirable, because to me, it's really hard to be passionate about something when you can't make money off of it. And maybe I'm just more like entrepreneurial in the sense that like I want to grow something that can make a ton of money. And there's too many other hands in the way of that when it comes to the music business, because it's not your decision. And you put your art out there, you put a song out there, how it does, it's kind of not necessarily going to always be in your hands.
Right.
Like letting go of the results, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part of it when you're starting out too. Letting go of the result. Why are you creating music? Like, what does it do for you first? And that's,
do you feel
it's okay.
Do you feel like, yeah, it is. Letting go of the results is huge. When you started, you did it because you just were a young kid that wanted to do music, right?
Yeah, like my dad gave me, or let me use his guitar, and then taught me a few chords, and I just loved the way that felt, just playing those chords. There's something about that resonated with me. And then last year of high school, they were accepting songs to be played for the farewell rally. They weren't accepting songs, just any submissions of any kind of thing, right? Any kind of performance, dance, whatever it is. And so something in me told me that I should do that. I was afraid. I wrote the song sheepishly in my, the first level of my house, and I almost didn't share it. But I finished that song, I shared it. It got accepted, and then I sang it at the farewell rally, and just seeing the emotional connection that it had with people from something I created, that was a really powerful beginning for me. And I think it's where I caught the bug of it. I'm not sure how did I even realize I could write a song. I don't even know how I knew I could do it, but maybe that blind optimism, just I don't know, just doing the thing, man, just doing it. And it's something powerful about when a song connects.
And there is a significant innocence to that those early days.
Yeah.
I know for me, probably for you,
Yeah.
Writing a song. Do you feel like the innocence has left for you, or do you feel like you can protect it?
As far as like creation, the innocence.
Yeah, because
headspace.
To me, in talking with you today, I feel like you have the excitement and innocence and love for songwriting still. Like you would do it if there was no money.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part for me, is to know when like a lot of these ideas, they're not for anyone else. Like they're just an expression, and it feels good for me to express and write something, So that alone makes it worth it. But that's the balance I fight with. When is this beyond that? That could be used for something. I don't know. But
when are you going to start releasing your stuff again? And what's keeping you from it?
I think part of it was when I lost my voice, it was like I mourned its loss. I thought it was never coming back. Like never. And when that's such a big part of you, it's a hard thing to wrestle with. And you just get out of the habit of singing all the time and doing all these things. So when you lose that part of your life a little bit, and then it starts working again, I wasn't singing as much, and so I got a little bit out of the routine of some of that from me. I mean, still, I'm obviously still doing it in a way. I forgot the question. I'm sorry. Say it again.
When are you going to release your stuff?
Releasing, yeah. I think
what's keeping you
it needs
from
to feel like it needs to feel purposeful. And I'm not saying it wouldn't be. It's just it needs to feel purposeful, where my family is taken care of enough in a way where I could spend that time to create that thing, and then but it's all by chance, right? Just to put something out there that people would like it. I don't know if anybody would like it. I don't know. And also part of it is because I really like making things that are good in my mind, and sometimes I'll never sign up on something. I just have to know how to let go, and so that's a battle that I need to be better at, is knowing when to let go of something, and then not because the perfection thing, it doesn't exist. So yeah, I need to just learn a few things in those areas. Sometimes I'll feel selfish by spending time on my art.
Do you need to learn a few things in those areas, or is that just an excuse?
That's a good question. I think I need to learn a few things. I think I need to learn a few things. But if we're being, I mean, there's probably parts in there that that have fear in them too. You know, like I'd be afraid of putting something out there in a way again.
There's a vulnerability in it. It's like you're naked in front of the whole world.
Yeah, but it's funny though, because at the same time, it's so expected that within a song that we could say the most crazy things, and like I could share a song with you right now and whatever, you know, that was super vulnerable, and you'd be like, yeah man, cool, thank you. You're like that. You know what I mean? Like you would not I don't think you would judge me for those things. You would just be like, oh, of course, it's expected. You're supposed to share those kind of things in music. You're supposed to say those things you're afraid of, or vulnerable, and your vulnerabilities, and you know, all that. So yeah.
If it doesn't scare you, what's that quote?
I know you're
it's something
about.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if it doesn't scare you, it's not worth it, or I don't know. Like that kind of idea.
That's important to. It's like, I it's funny. I talk to the kids about these things too. Like sometimes your fears will dictate what you should be doing. If you're afraid of it, it's telling you that you should do something about it. You know, there's a reason why you're afraid.
It's a Goggin-esque, very David Goggins mentality. You know?
Yeah.
Like walk into the fear, don't run away from it, run to it.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Right. David Goggins.
The only way out is through, baby.
Yep, only way out is through.
I can't wait until some more music comes comes our way, the world's way from you.
Thanks, man.
Because
I haven't really talked about it, you know. I'm just talking with you as a friend. So
I appreciate it. I think that it's something that's important because you pour so much into other people. You've always been that way. I remember when we were writing together, I looked at you as a mentor. I felt like you were a more established songwriter than I was, and so it was always cool writing with you because you had a different approach to things. You'd get up and walk around and go and then you would try to pull stuff out of me, man. And I remember
go ahead, keep going.
I was just gonna say, I remember my wife and I broke up. Well, my girlfriend and I broke up. Now we're married.
Yeah.
But when we broke up, I was writing all kinds of songs with you about it, and you're like, I was just like pouring out my soul, and you were like there to put the pieces together. Yeah, like I was like throwing it out, and then you were like, all right, this is how we can like arrange it.
Yeah. But you know? You're such a great co-writer in that way too, like because you weren't afraid to be vulnerable and say the things that you connected with. Like I could ask you questions, you'd be like, yeah, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm thinking about, this is what I'm feeling, and your openness made it so much easier to help you write a song. You know, you're a great co-writer in that way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot in writing and being in Nashville too, and writing with some like older guys that have, you know, really successful careers. That's been one of my favorite things, is just to learn.
Yeah.
I'll say I want to hear your piece of advice.
Wait,
and I want to hear my piece of advice.
I also want I don't want to take too long on this, but I'm actually curious. One of the things you've learned from writers in Nashville, and then your piece of advice. I'm not sure what that question really is, but
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what it is for me. What I've learned. So there's a couple things. One, a song it's figuring out how to say it and sing about a timeless truth in a new way. And so figuring that out is always the equation, you know. And I don't know that the songs that are released are in a new way. I think a lot of it is in the same way it's always been. But I think the really great songs figured out how to tell a timeless truth in a new way. But the thing for me as a writer that has made me improve upon would be, I'll just give you an example. Like, so I could say I'm sitting in a room right now in a chair thinking. Or I could be like, this building was built in 1894 and I sit up in this office corner.
Yeah.
And it smells kind of like an antique store.
Yeah.
And I hear the creak in the floor. And it's about 60 degrees and it's real chilly. And it makes me feel like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I start to paint the picture.
That's right.
And I'm being very descriptive. And it's like the walls are white, you know.
And then how it makes you feel.
Yeah, and then the feeling part, you know, like when I come here, I get stressed out because I work here. But there's also a time I come here and I feel peace. And it's a juxtaposition. It's a weird place to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, giving those details, given that how your senses are responding to those detailed surroundings.
Yeah.
It can make all the difference. Yeah.
So those detailed surroundings, and I find myself listening to music in the best, like my favorite band of all time is the Eagles, and I think of so many of their songs, but just Peaceful Easy Feeling is maybe my second favorite song of theirs. But the intro verse is, I like the way your sparkling earrings lay against your skin so brown. I want to sleep with you in the desert tonight with a million stars all around. Wow. And it's just like a visual, right? It says everything.
Show me, don't tell me, right?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, and then also the patterns of show, then tell. Is a good lesson too. It's like, show me, then tell me. Don't just tell me. Maybe don't just show me. You know, like tell me. You know, find that balance. That's a great balance sometimes in songwriting.
Yeah,
I love that.
But for me, the growth was in finding the details.
Yes,
you know,
the personal details and the way that you see the world. Like through your eyes, and not just because that's how it's done in writing. Oh, someone would say this. No. How do you see it? How would you say it?
Yeah. What is the big piece of advice that you would give? Because that's kind of my piece of advice to younger songwriters. When I hear songs, I often hear them and they're generic, and I say, how can you go a level deeper with that? Like, instead of saying like you were on the phone with your girlfriend, can you say what time it was, or where you were at, or what it made you feel like, or what were you talking about? Right. You know, like, let's go a lot deeper. Let's peel back the layers.
Yeah, and find different ways to say those same words. Like, are there other synonyms for the same, those words too, to make it on a deeper level. I think that does differentiate a decent song to be really good. Is the level of detail, and how obviously the melody matters and all that kind of stuff, and rhythms and contrast between all of them, right? But I love that. That's great advice. I think my advice is I probably have like 1,000 pieces in my head, but the biggest thing I think right now is just to do it. Like, don't be afraid and just do the thing. Just show up. make something, be bold about it, say what you're feeling, you know, go deeper on those levels of detail, but in a place of non-judgment where you're not judging yourself the whole time. Freely create. And then after you're done, then put the songwriting hat on, and then maybe go and adjust some things. Just make sure that those melodies work. Make sure there's contrast between the sections melodically. Make sure the length of your notes aren't all the same and the rhythms aren't all starting the same beats. See what actually resonates first. How does it resonate with you first? And then take the judgment side out of the equation. And then go back in and go over the details on how to make that song better, how to make that chorus hit better. Make sure that title line is super clear, and the placement of that title line is in the which line it's at, like where it makes most sense. Is there a better way to say that? Writing is rewriting. It is rewriting.
I don't know if you taught me this or someone else, but the metaphor of building the house, framing the house, building it and then going back and decorating it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was you.
Yeah, no, I remember. I think we talked about that. Build the house first, decorate later.
Yeah. And that's just showing up is building. Yeah. Just building something. I think that's cool.
That is cool. Yeah, honestly, I haven't thought about that in a long time. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it stuck with me because the inner critic gets in there when you're writing, or this publisher's going to say this about that because I already know them, and I'm filtering what other people are going to say about this already, and I haven't even gotten halfway done with it, and I'm thinking about what
outside judgment,
it, dude.
Yeah, a fear of judgment.
It's a fear of judgment, man.
That messes
and what does
up.
a fear of judgment come down to? It really comes down to insecurity, which is the human experience.
Yeah, man.
I love that you're inspiring me because I've really kind of not been writing. I have a song that's done that I'm gonna cut a vocal on.
Nice.
But it's just kind of a fun thing for me. I wrote a pop song.
Cool.
It's in my mind, purely pop, kind of Charlie Puth-esque.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his. But in fact, dude, I don't even listen to country music much.
Really?
Yeah, not at all.
Wow.
Except for the Post Malone stuff I like.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then my buddy is a photographer from Morgan Wallen. I went and I saw Morgan at Nissan Stadium, and I like Morgan Wallen now.
Cool.
Just, I don't know, I'm on the bandwagon, but I think that's because he did a song with Post Malone. I didn't like Post at first either, by the way. When I first heard him, I was like, what's this guy with the tattoos on his face all about? And now he's just
I know.
You put a pop artist on country radio, they're going to crush everyone. Beyonce did it.
Yeah.
Now Post Malone's killing it.
I know.
He was just on Broadway with Luke Combs.
It's cool.
Doing a music video. It's interesting how pop's coming in the country world.
Yeah, I've always liked the fusion. I've liked when things combined. Why does it have to stay in one genre? Can't it just be multiple finding its way? And I think music is doing that more now than it ever has. It's just genre-less sometimes. Jump out of the box, man. Go do something.
Yeah, the worst question is, sorry to interrupt, but the worst question is, what's your music like? What's your genre?
I know it's hard.
You know what I'm saying, dude? People want to throw you in a lane.
Yeah. I
don't like that. And I have no problem saying country's country or whatever. But what happened to the days of radio where it would play like the 80s, you could have Guns N' Roses and then Tears for Fears or whatever, a pop band and a rock band and a Bruce Hornsby, Mandolin Rain vibe. Yeah. And it's all these different things and they're all on the same radio station,
Yeah, that's cool. A good song is a good song, right? Who cares where it comes from?
But growing up, the radio was like that. They played a variety, but then radio's gotten so consolidated into genres.
Yeah.
I'm sure you experienced it, especially living in LA and hearing the stations and what they played, and your hip hop, and then your pop, and then your.
I didn't really even listen to the radio that much.
Yeah.
I just Spotify and all the different platforms out there.
Yeah, and terrestrial radio is headed for a death, I think.
Yeah, I'm really curious what's gonna happen in the next 5-10 years in that area.
Yeah,
like I don't know
It'll
the
be
stats.
Interesting.
I don't know the stats at all.
Me neither. And it might be a nostalgia cycle. Shoot, we might go back to like AM.
I hear that. I mean, just like a vinyl, there's certain experiences you have with a certain thing. Like, someone told me recently that cassettes are next. Like, people are gonna go and
Wouldn't be surprised.
And buy cassettes. I forget who said it, but yeah, man, I'm curious too. I have no clue. But I don't know why. I don't really listen to the radio. Like I just everyone's curating their own playlists, finding songs they like, on their own those little music platforms,
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think that especially with our next generations, millennials, and then it was Gen Z.
I don't know.
Gen Zers.
Sure.
And then, but the whatever generation comes after the millennials, I know they're real into authenticity and like discovering artists and songs that
I love that
people don't know about. So it'll be cool to see where music goes. But really, I remember sitting next to you at the ASCAP Expo years and years ago.
Yeah.
And the head of ASCAP at the time was talking about the legislation that they were working on to get songwriters more money. And I really hope that the money comes back to music. Yeah. I really hope that you can make a living as an artist selling records instead of signing 360 deals and like
right.
That's my hope.
Same.
I really want to see that happen. And I'm a champion for however that has to happen. It needs to happen. And we've devalued art as a culture. We've devalued music. We've devalued journalism, which was an art form.
Yeah.
Every form of art has been just the life's like been sucked out of it. It's just that's how I feel, at least. And so I want to see us as a culture seeing the value in art again, where we put our money into supporting artists because they're the fabric of culture. It's been since the dawn of time. Music's been integral.
Yeah, man, I'm right with you on that. I'd love to see that happen. I don't know how exactly it happens, but with all the the 120,000 songs a day kind of thing, and then all these options and feeling like you get lost in that sea. Yeah.
I think you just have to, it's almost like not watching the news. You just have to not think about those things.
I agree.
And then then you'll be all right.
I know. I remember I would tell the class some statistics every once in a while. But I never wanted to lead with those because hope is a powerful thing. You have to believe that you can or believe that you have a chance sometimes. Instead of hearing those crazy statistics, 1 in 10,000, or can make it in the industry and the 120,000 songs a day and all that stuff. I mean, it messes up the why of why we do it anyway,
Yeah.
So.
My friend Eddie is a publisher, and when people say, should I move to Nashville? He says no. And then he says, if me telling that person no is going to keep them from moving to Nashville, then they didn't want it bad enough.
That's good. That's really good. I asked somebody at one point, and he told me no.
I think that
he
says it best.
So don't do it.
Did he give you a reason?
I don't remember exactly the reason, but it was like a very intentional no. He didn't know who I was or what I'd ever done or any of that stuff, But I think it's just, making a living in music's really hard. I think that was the main thing.
Yeah. But if it was easy, everybody would do it too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, man,
good,
I appreciate your willingness to be open and honest.
Yeah, man.
And I think that this whole thing, yeah, dude, it's just great to catch up. But I feel like both of us, you more so because you're further down the road of fatherhood, but the responsibility of being a dad and also having passion and a dream, I think we have to remember that what we do, our kids are watching, Like watching dad do the thing that he loves and going after it still. What does that say to your son without saying a single word?
Right. 100% agree. We have to be the examples of that. You got to do what we love. Hopefully inspire them to do the same. Like, I don't care if my kids do anything in music, but if they love something, they better chase it.
And that's a wrap with Cameron Stymeist. Again, if you want to follow him, check out the show notes. Cameron's an awesome guy, a friend that goes way back, and I appreciate, Cameron, you doing this podcast and this episode with me. It's fun that we can do this even though you're in Utah and I'm in Tennessee. Make sure to go subscribe, like, share, leave a little rating, hopefully 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And I'll see you guys back next Monday. Stay safe. Love each other. Peace.
Peace.